I believe that being human gives us the capacity to think and to act for the common good. As human beings, it doesn't matter what your station is in life, what your academic qualifications, whatever titles that people may have given you, where you live, the color of your skin. As human beings, all of us, we are created in God's image. We reflect the essence of God. In our spirits we have the equality of spirit as far as it reflects God's image. As human beings, we share a common humanity. When we don't accord value to the dignity of others, when we don't recognize the dignity of another human, whether we know it or not, we are diminishing our own worth. We are dehumanizing ourselves because we are bound together in common unity. So when we talk about transformative leadership or transformational leadership, as some choose to call it, we are first and foremost examining our own humanity, our own value system, and the nature of our relationships with our fellow human beings. I believe that transformative leadership at the individual level is about how we think about ourselves in relation to those who are around us, especially how we relate to those who seem unlike us, who in appearance seem different to us, be it from the point of view of their skin color or their economic situation in life. And also, crucially, our humanity has to be defined in terms of how we conceive our responsibility in regard to the challenges, the small and the bigger challenges that confront our society today. Do we have a grasp of these challenges, and how do we respond to these challenges? So, before we even speak with authority to formal leadership structures, to politicians, we certainly need to reflect deep and answer serious questions about our own contribution in society today. What are we doing to change things for the better? To conclude, I would like to set out 3 sets of challenges I'd like to pose to myself primarily, but also to all of us, which have been the thread of my talk. The first is with respect to the responsibility we all have to challenge ourselves and think deeply about our humanity and the role we can play in strengthening civic virtue as well as towards nation building. I did a piece about a week ago talking about focusing on the new black elite. When I talk about the new black elite, I'm not referring to people who are middle classes, who are government officials, or who may be in the corporate sector, but I'm talking about the new multi-millionaires, the billionaires, the new entrepreneurs who've raked in huge amount of wealth on the back of progressive government equity policies and laws since the mid-1990s. And we, there are names, you have your Motsipes, your Sekwales, you have many of them. In fact, if you want to see who they are, you basically attend or you watch the ANC's fundraising events, and they're the first to sort of give money to these events. And I was asking myself a question, and I think it's good that we need to have more of them. I certainly support, even this DTI's effort to create black industrialists. I think we need more entrepreneurs in society. We need more creators of employment. We need more people to contribute to create value in the economy, and I certainly support them. But the question I was asking is, what is their contribution in building a public spirit, in strengthening civic virtue, and in harnessing their capital to create new centers of knowledge, to patronize new ideas, and certainly to shape the contours of social change. Or is it the case that they want to compete on who is at the top of their hierarchy in the Forbes 2000 list? And I think it's a question that is not just only posed to them, but also for us. It's a question that we also need to questions that we need to ask ourselves, because we have relative privilege compared to someone, say, who is in Alexandra, or who is in Mamelodi or Khayelitsha or KwaMashu and so on. So, what are we doing with the resources that we have? How are we harnessing the positive energy of our own social and material progress to make the places where we come from better than they were when we were there? How do we? My heart cry, personal heart cry, is that surely, and I think my colleagues, my cohort here, Sipo and Ivan, probably ask the same questions. If we were able to climb, that ladder and get on the other side, surely a system could be created to make it possible to have hundreds and thousands of young people coming from the environments where we grew up from, who make it in life. It should be possible to have many doctors, PhDs, specialist surgeons coming out of Langa, Khayelitsha, Gugulet, Kuyasa, and it should be possible. And certainly I would not celebrate the fact that I came out of that environment, got a PhD, and I don't see many other people with that opportunity. Yes, I celebrate it, but I would not be able to celebrate fully when I have this thinking that it should be possible to have many young people coming through and becoming better. And I think this is the role that those who are more empowered, especially those who have deep pockets, can play in plowing back to schools, creating, building new schools, building new universities, building new technicons, things that never existed before, that seek to lift up all the boats at the same time, if possible. We too often, I think one of the biggest problems, and I'm sure many of you have seen this, when you go walk into a dark room and you are confronted by your shadow, you become too scared. You jump. You just walk into a room and then your shadow comes. You jump, because we don't have a conception of who we really are, who we truly are, and the capacity that we possess to make change, to change things. We do not see ourselves as possessing seeds that could very well shape social structures differently. We always think that it must be someone who is extraordinary, because we are hero obsessed. It must be a hero. It must be a celebrity. It must be someone who appears on TV. It must be someone from Hollywood, not me, not you. And I think we should shift this paradigm. The second point, in my conclusion, we have greater responsibilities towards our fellow citizens, especially those who are on the margins of the economy. I know I'm repeating myself, and I'm doing this really deliberately, because these are the key points that are a thread in my talk, and that define my life or my aspiration. And yeah, I'm not advocating the kind of relationship that accentuates the benefactor-beneficiary boundaries, but a deeper relationship that allows us to see into each other's worlds, to talk to one another, to understand one another, not to seek to force the other person to see reality from my own point of view, or to convince the other person of my own political standpoint, but to have genuine dialogue as human beings. Where do you come from? What troubles you? How did you get to where you are? What are your dreams? Where do you want to get it? Very basic conversations that we can have with our helpers at home, with people we meet on the streets, with people who work for us in our companies, and so on. Because if we can't have that kind of dialogue, we must forget about having dialogue about bigger issues, or people talk about race dialogue in South Africa, but we just can't talk to one another as human beings. Finally, I'm convinced that we flourish at two levels. First, connective at the level of what I've been talking about, that is seeking deeper and meaningful connections with those who are seemingly, and I'm stressing seemingly, those who are seemingly different from ourselves. Because it challenges us. There's nothing that challenges me about talking to my brother at home. Very little that's challenging. But if I walk across to talk to someone who belongs, who comes from a totally different social class and maybe, racial background, I get challenged. And it's uncomfortable. I must allow myself to be challenged. I must allow myself to be uncomfortable. We need to overcome what Rabbi Jonathan Sachs refers to in his book, The Dignity of Difference, refers to as the critical distance between the I want to and I ought to. The first is about our sense of entitlement as human beings, a sense of comfort, being absorbed into our small worlds of clan, small worlds of race, small worlds of families. I mean, in their own right, these could be bigger words, but in the macro, systemic, or universal frame, these are small worlds. Whereas the latter, that is, I ought to, is about our responsibilities towards the other and to preserve that which is of common good. I think we also, when all is said and done, we need to be closely, actively, and I think consciously engaged with the politics of the day. We should not shy away. We should not shy away from speaking truth to power. We should not shy away from saying something is wrong. Something is unethical, something is morally incorrect. This is corruption. Doesn't matter who you are. I'm not, if you are my friend in government, I have plenty. If I wanted to name drop, I could name drop to Lutuli House. But that's not important. It doesn't matter if you have to confront something that is wrong. Think about the next generation. Think about your children. Take a stand for the future. Forget about your discomfort. Forget about losing a friend. If they are on the wrong, they are on the wrong. So the process of transformative leadership and social change begins with ourselves as individuals, begins with critical self-examination. Thank you.